If martial law if that came to reality, what would you do? If you saw policemen and SWAT members, if you saw our own military shooting at our own people and shooting at our own women and children, what would you do? Would you stay in the house? Would you sell your soul? What would you do? Would you sell out to the RFID chip just in the hopes that you wouldn't have to be killed? What would you do? What would you do? Would you run away? Would you fight back? What would you do? What would you do if you saw our own government killing us? Who would you consider to be a real terrorist then? What would you do? Would you question everything that you've ever been told? Would you question everything that you've ever heard in the news? What would you do? Would you be a coward? What would you fucking do? What would you do if you saw our own military policemen? What would you do if you saw the young men of America shooting each other? What would you do if you saw everybody getting taken over by technology? What would you fucking do? If everybody was taken over by technology, what would you do? What would you do if you saw people bumping into each other on the streets because they can't take their face away from their fucking cell phone? What would you fucking do? What would you do? Would you hide in your stupid ass Pokemon Go? Is that what you would do? What would you do? Would you laugh at it? Post it on fucking Snapchat? Is that what you would do? Go home? Eat your fucking goddamn McDonald's and watch television? Is that what you would fucking do? What would you do? What would you do if you found out that the election is a fucking lie? What would you do? What would you do if you found out that people are poisoned against their own goddamn will? What would you fucking do? What would you do if you knew what I know? What would you do? What would you do? What would you do if you felt like you had to get away from everything and everybody because nobody has a fucking soul anymore? What would you fucking do? What would you do if you saw chemical trails in the fucking air? What would you do if it made you sleepy and not want to fucking do anything? What would you do? What would you do if you saw celebrities and artists getting killed for telling the God honest truth? What would you do? What would you do if you found out that you could get killed for saying too much? What would you do? What would you do if you found out that freedom of speech is a fucking lie? What would you do if you found out that everything is a fucking lie? Would you let them still take over your soul? Would you let that fear keep you from doing what you really love to do and being who you really love to be? Is that what you would do? Stay at your 9-to-5 job and work in a goddamn cubicle your whole goddamn life because you're so worried about a goddamn fucking green piece of fucking paper? You despicable. It's sad to me.